Oh, look at that. I have no camera. Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. We'll get the camera fixed. We're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and on the screen is a logo for something new. Oh, we'll get it. We'll get it. There we go. Hey, how's it going? We're going to be decompiling Symphony of the Night as always, but I have something fun to talk about. We'll see if it is fun or not. I have a new program that I'm hoping makes things faster. This is the logo. It's called Metro Wrap. And what does Metro Wrap do? It wraps MetroWorks, of course. So we use currently for the Symphony of the Night decompilation project. Look at that. My capture's gone away. We use MWCC Gap, which does something clever. MetroWorks does support inline assembly, but in a very different way from how GCC supports inline assembly, and there's some limitations there, and I actually need to spend some time looking into what all those limitations are, and I plan on doing that in more detail probably over the next few weeks or so. But we want to use the MetroWorks PSP compiler to produce the code for the PSP because that's how the original game's code was produced. There's a couple issues. First is that the PSP compiler is a Windows command line executable, and most of the other infrastructure runs in Linux, especially for some of the older stuff. It's for the PlayStation, for example, that's all GCC based. And most of those tools are available in open source. So we need some way to run Windows programs for compilation. The other thing is that MetroWorks doesn't support inline assembly quite the way that GCC does. And so what MWCC Gap does is looks at the file, looks for the include ASM macros that we use as placeholders for the functions that we've not decompiled yet. Hey, Roaming, how's it going? And looks at where the assembly is going to be for each of those, replaces those functions with placeholder functions filled with no-ops that are exactly the size of the actual assembly function, compiles the assembly function separately, and then mucks with the ELF output of the original to inject all of the code, all of the data, all of the relocations into the compiled ELF. And so it takes some work to do that. And really cool process. I've tried contributing to that project, and my what I wanted was for dependency support. So GCC, the MetroWorks compiler, most other compilers, they provide some way of, as the preprocessor is running, how do I get the output of all the includes that were pulled in so that I can build kind of a dynamic make target to know that when those header files change, rebuild my thing. And so MetroWorks C compiler does support that. The output is slightly different than GCC and not really compatible with how Ninja works, which is our underlying build system. So I submitted a patch to get that working. I haven't checked on it lately because I started working on this. And basically it takes the same flags and args as GCC, but then gives you the correct dependency files for these MetroWorks builds as well. That sat for a couple months, and it's a pain, and I run into a bunch of issues quite a bit because we'll change some system header or game-wide header, some shared file that's getting compiled into a lot of stages and overlays. And because there's no dependency management, the subsequent, either I need to go touch all the files that would include that header and figure out what all those are manually, rebuild the world, which takes a long time, or I miss what it is, and that's caused me issues in the past where I'm working for hours, things aren't getting rebuilt. I don't realize that I introduced some bug on the GCC side that's preventing everything from compiling, and I lose a bunch of hours worth of work. I was tired of doing that. So that was one big reason I wanted dependency management support with MWCC Gap. The other one is that MWCC Gap is written in Python, and it mostly just forks out to other programs, does a little bit of the work itself. But for thousands of invocations, I haven't worked with Python prior to this project really, but my experience is that Python is unbearably slow. So MWCC Gap is slow, and they're not accepting my patches. So I rewrote it, and I rewrote it in Rust. I don't care about Rust really, just that it was the fastest way to do it. And so that's what Metro Wrap is. And as of Friday, with some basically early work, but this is completely building the PSP version of Symphony of the Night now, without MWCC Gap. And it builds it. So this is a naive port of MWCC Gap to Rust, plus my my additions for dependency management. As I was building it, I was kind of noting where the optimization points could be, where we could either parallelize things or avoid doing some work altogether. None of that extra work has gone in. Just switching the language, approaching it exactly the same way. It's 30% faster. And so a complete rebuild of the PSP version was 18 seconds before. It's 11 seconds now. And I know of several areas, like I said, where this could be optimized even further, especially in the case where there is no assembly to reimport. So more on that later. This has a ton of tests as I was building as well. That's another deficiency of MWCC Gap. Oh, it didn't switch. It didn't switch. Nothing's updating as I'm throwing shade. Let me get the terminal updated. There we go. And for the most part, it's a drop-in replacement. There are a few things that I'm going to change because I don't like the way that they're done. The source dir option, for example, I don't think is the best way to do things. For the PlayStation, we run all the source through the preprocessor first, and then we run it through strings, Soten string, and then we run it through icon-v to do the conversion to shift-jizz. MWCC Gap has the conversion built in, which seems unnecessary. So I think moving to a model more like this, where we can get the preprocessor output separately from the compilation, makes a lot of sense. So there's other, like I said, other optimizations to worry about as well. But we'll get there, and I think it's gonna be really good. I'm excited about it. Was happy when I got that build to go through, and I thought it was quite an achievement. I'll let it run, but 10 seconds. It's gonna go, and we'll get all greens for everything, which is awesome. So more on that as it gets closer to being finished. I hate waiting for things. We're going to go back to decomp.me. And I think we were here. Can't remember if we had a PSP version of this yet. I could go check my profile and see what I started. I don't remember what I did last week. If I didn't say hey roaming, good to have you. Okay, so we don't have a PSP version yet, but I think that there's more to do here. And let me just remind myself of where this was. Looks like I haven't cleared out a lot of these temporary variables yet. So there is work to be done. I'm going to go top to bottom, not really looking over here, just looking at the source. And as I see things, I will point them out and try to fix them. I'm going to reformat along the way as well. You want to look at this on 129. Whether this is correct or not, that looks right. Some issues here. This might be getting pulled out into a variable that would make sense. So position Y. Sometimes the X is done as well. It doesn't look like that's the case here. Possibly these are misordered. Said I wasn't going to look over here, and now I'm looking over here. This looks like it might be a switch. So 144, here we have a branch on the comparison. And where's our comparison being done? So we're looking at V0. So V0 would have been caught beforehand. So that is it possible that this should have been split into two separate cases? Let's look at that. So we have case 4, 5, and then do we have case 6? We don't have case 6. So I think what happened was we're missing case 6 here. And this condition on step is really how those were being split. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I would have gotten an error saying that there was a duplicate case if there was already a 6 there. That looks better. Looks like random may be called up here, or this is all part of the same expression. Yep. Oh, a bunch of these are looks like plus equals. So we have velocity y, and if it's less than this value, then clamp it effectively. I think we could probably do an else if here, but probably doesn't matter. Oh, it does matter. Here we can do a plus equals. This actually looks like it's probably a less than equals. I only say that because it's a very even number otherwise. No, but negating the 5f. So I'm going to do a quick check. It's the same as 3a, or 0.375. Yeah, I guess that's fine. So if I would do that, then I need less than equals. Strange that it would reset it regardless of if it's equals or not. Seems unnecessary. Same thing here. All these look like they're written the same way. And this could be negative 1.25. Let me go look at that to make sure. Now I got to move all the, check the variable again in the expression. That's important. Not use an uninitialized variable there. So something's not quite right here. We're not getting the load, but I'm going to keep going. No music. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, whatever bug there is where my captures start failing, that's what's going on today. So we'll get through it and figure it out. So there may be stuff here that needs to be worked out. Not too worried about it. Yeah, this is strange to me. It looks like I have the wrong number here. Let me go back to what it was. And I think it was a less than equals. No, probably less than. No, that's fine. I thought this was going to be negative. Oh, no, it'd be negative 1.75. But why is this just 0.75? So that seems like a bug. And when I say that, that's how these are interpreted as fixed values. 16-bit fixed values. I'll keep going. We'll figure it out eventually. I'm going to assume that this is a shift. Sometimes these divide by 32s are actually just shifts. And that's what it looks like here. Strange. This one is not there. Should actually look for all the move entities that have an arg in them. Likely copy pasta. I'm pretty sure move entity has no args. So yeah, the reason I put these as a divide by 32 originally, except instead of a shift by 5, is because down here these are divide by 16s. And so why do we sometimes shift and why do we sometimes divide for effectively the same operation? I don't know. That's strange to me. My guess is that these are going to be shifts. It seems common with 32 that shifts are done, and maybe the dev who worked on this was familiar enough with what the code gen looked like to say, I don't like the extra code for 32s, but I'm fine with it for 16, because there isn't really anything. So it does the shift and that's it. So why is 32 special? I don't know. We get a lot more code instead of just the shift by 4 like we do for 16. If I was a little smarter, I might be able to tell you, but I don't know. Anyway, entity takes 2 args. $228. So likely there's another animate entity somewhere that should be the same as this, and that this would normally jump to. Hey, Nico Castellanos, Spanish. Awesome. Hello from America, all the way to Spain. Nice to have you. So what I want to do is find whether or not this is done somewhere else. It doesn't look like that specific. Oh, I had a ampersand in there earlier. I don't see it. Down in the American Southwest, we have our fair share of Spanish, a very different Spanish than your fair Spanish. So I know how to order at the Mexican restaurant. That's about the extent of my Spanish. My wife is a good Spanish speaker, though. $259. She has a friend who currently lives in Spain and went out there and had a good time. That was last year. I don't know how I feel about some of the guys with their embraces and much more warm to people than we are over here, as a euphemism. Oh no, music stopped again. We'll fix that. Did my browser stop too? Sorry about that. I'm gonna try to pay attention when I always have pending notifications, so OBS suppresses all that, and so I know when capturing fails that I'll get my notifications back, and that's my signal to fix the capture. Are you, Nico, are you mostly a fan of the game or Decompilation? So I'm going through here. These are things that I know are likely, mostly because I've seen them before. A lot of times when you see something being subtracted from itself. In this code base, at least, it's going to be a minus equals. And it usually doesn't affect the PlayStation version compiled with GCC. It's usually more of an issue with MetroWorks, and it'll treat those differently. Oh, well, welcome. Yeah, big fan of the game as well. Oh, junior web dev. Awesome. I did a lot of web dev in the past, and then it got different, and I couldn't keep up with web dev. So a lot of my experience is back a long time ago when I was a web dev when Ajax became a thing. And you might, if you're a junior, you might not know what Ajax was, but that was kind of the start of it all. So that's basically 25 years ago. Internet Explorer, of all things, came up with a way. So 306, I'm past that a little bit now. In 306, we're actually going down to DFC, which might be a return. And so we should look at where this ends up. Not quite. It does look like it might be breaking out of this whole switch, though. So let's see if we can work out where those jumps go. So in the case that this fails, we would be breaking out. We'd be going all the way down to 573. Is that... Oh, that's too far. So again, what might be happening is sometimes there is code that is identical in a bunch of different places. And so instead of duplicating that code there, GCC will jump to another area. And so there may be more to this switch that is being missed, and it's just more difficult to find on the GCC output. So we'll come back to it with the PSP and try to solve it there. The PSP should make it very obvious. And it might be something like this, where instead of the array access, I just have symbols pointing to these places, and as soon as that's back in place, then everything looks good again. We'll see. Yeah, and so if you're not familiar with decompilation, what we're trying to do is write C code that will reproduce this MIPS assembly exactly. And this is what we currently are producing. And so we have to go through and just tweak little things here and there until we get to some exact reproduction. And then when we're done, we have our own code that builds to the same thing as the game, and we can do whatever we want with it. That's the goal. And decomp.me is a nice tool for that. A lot of front-end web dev went into this, and what an excellent tool. Far off from where I need to be. So we got line numbers down in this gutter telling us where approximately we are. GCC output, so this is an old version of GCC, and it's not always straightforward to map the instructions back to the lines. The debug output isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm pretty sure, so we have a variable here set to -200 hex. It's some rotation. and then it's being incremented here. I was tempted to rewrite this as possibly I times 200 minus 200, which would do the equivalent thing, and that actually bumped us up quite a bit. Let's find where that was. We have a bunch that's wrong in here. And it looks like this might be not quite in the order that I was expecting. Oh, here we are. So yeah, I think this is producing the same thing. When we have a S register in the variable name, it's, if it was MetroWorks, I would say it's probably a variable, but GCC probably not. Let's revert that. And yeah, that was over 1%, right around a 1% increase in match. I'll take that. I like that. And then we come down here, and again, we have a lot of extra code here, but it may be because we're jumping to another section and it's identical. There were a lot of go-tos here, and so I'm going to come back later and figure out what that was. And as far as S2 seems lonely and like it doesn't belong, get rid of that. If we could get up to 90%, that might be my cue to move on to the PSP. Sometimes these may be in a different order, and just switching the order of the lines fixes the generated instructions. Sometimes it doesn't work. You never know. We see this a bunch, and so I'm guessing that again, there's either some ordering issue or something like that that's not that's causing this not to work out. This should be and this might do it. There should be a negation there. Yeah. That. Ooh. That took us down. That's okay. That's more correct. Sometimes you got to go back to go forward. I assume this is a not, and we'll see if that works out. This is an easy one. Over the weekend, I was reading Masters of Doom, and I am upset with myself that I've never read it before. It brought me back to the 90s in a severe way. And what a fantastic story. I had no idea how instrumental John Carmack was in early PC gaming. Like I knew about Wolfenstein and Doom, and I even knew about Commander Keen. I had no idea that Commander Keen was as revolutionary as it was. And it's a really, really cool story. So this is divide by 16. So we're going to do a minus equals velocity divided by 16. Just how John Romero and I just saw the comment about looking 25 myself. A little bit older than 25. Thank you, though. I guess that's a compliment. Yeah, so John Carmack, one, I didn't realize what trouble he was prior to being in video games. I just thought he was kind of the stereotypical like nerdy kid who, you know, found his calling and then was able to be at the right place at the right time. Right place at the right time, definitely. Very serendipitous what he was able to do, but just a genius. As like, I knew he was a genius, but effectively self-taught, didn't go to any type of traditional education for his for programming or anything like that. Just super impressive. I'm going to grab this Pad 2 animation debug. This will be an include later on, but I need it now. What do I want? So where I am in the book at the moment is Carmack just figured out how to do smooth scrolling on the PC, which didn't have any sprite hardware. And so every frame that changed, games at the time were updating every single pixel, and you couldn't do that fast enough. A 286 wasn't fast enough to update every pixel. And so he came up with a damage algorithm. There's some grossness down here. Are we at 90? We reverted again. Not even 89. I'm going to do this on the PSP because that's going to be a little easier. Before I go to the PSP, I'm going to get rid of all these things. Anyway, so he comes up with this damage algorithm to only update pixels that are changing. And then from there is able to implement smooth scrolling. And him and a coworker recreate, this is 1990, Super Mario Bros. 3 on the PC. Show it to John Romero, who's floored. They put together at least the entire World 1, and only the first level is a reproduction, but they put together World 1 of Super Mario Bros. 3, and then send it to Nintendo and say, hey, we want to port Mario 3. What do you think? Man. So one, nowadays, Nintendo would send a cease and desist. Back then, they might have, like, I think they had a good chance of actually going through with it. So we have var v011. That looks like the only var v0 we have remaining. I'm going to get rid of all these other ones. We're trying to get rid of as many of these variables as possible because, for the most part, they just represent temporary register allocation and not actual variables. And the initial decompiler that we use, M2C, can't really tell the difference. And so we go through, get rid of them all, and then have to go get rid of the declarations. That var A0, that's gone. And this var A0 is gone. So then Nintendo rejects them, obviously. And we never get to see the id version of Super Mario 3 for the PC. I did learn that one of those discs has made it to at least one video game history museum. It's pretty cool. It's not on public display, though. Now that's the var v0 I was looking at before. Guess I'm not sure. It's likely that this is just in line here, like this. Or something else. I'm not going to speculate at the moment. I'm just going to keep moving. Is this other A1? Well, Nintendo's rejection became Commander Keen, which I played when it was current. And I guess having a Genesis and a Nintendo at the time, it didn't strike me as something revolutionary. I didn't realize that this was an issue with PCs, that they couldn't normally do these things. Temp V021. All the others can go. I missed temp S0_2 along the way. Getting rid of that. I don't remember what it was. We're just going to make it a 932 and we'll fix it up later. Temp V115 and all the rest can go. S2's gone. 1 is gone. Doing good. These are used the same way. Hey, does it? Good to have you back. So I'm just going to get rid of the _2 version. And assuming that is a variable, I'm guessing it'll be the same one when we get over to the PSP. And one more check. Even get back up to 90 or 89%. All right, so everything that's left is being used. The G entities placeholders, those are gone, and GPads 1 should be gone too. Oh, it's not gone, and this should actually help us quite a bit. The compiler here doesn't know that these symbols are array access. Okay, 89%. Let's get rid of this warning too, 524. So we have the wrong type. And so we're either, let's just take a reference there. This one is the same as the longest function, and I spent too much time redoing that one. And we'll get back into that. Okay, so we have 89.6%. Pretty close. We're going to go create a new scratch for the PSP. And I always like talking about what my strategy is for finding the equivalent. So you have different compilers, different platforms, same architecture. How do you find different compiler settings even? How do you find code that is the same when you don't know necessarily how the instructions are going to be generated? And you know that they're not going to be the same. So the way I do it is by looking for unique values that have a high likelihood of not being reproduced other ways. And for this particular code base, I've found that sound effect IDs are usually a pretty good source of unique data. So fortunately, this function has a lot of sound effect IDs. And so we're going to use one or more of those to find which one it is. And we can look for that value in the sound effects header. Explode small. So it's being used for zombie deaths. this is a sound effect that probably is used a bunch of different places. So I don't have a high hope for this finding the function. It could. Boss RBOO on matchings. And it just happened that in this boss overlay, there is only one function using that sound effect ID. And so it ended up being easy. Those are the best when I can find sound effect IDs. There are params and flags and other things like that that are often really unique. Sometimes the number of function calls or the set of function calls can be used. Those are some of the ways that I do. So I'm going to copy this assembly. We're going to go over and paste it. And I don't like the M2C output for the PSP. That's why I started on the PlayStation. So we're going to do that. And we need to get a few things from the context. And we will set the signature, because I do like referencing M2C's output. M2C is the decompiler. Even if I don't like using it as a starting point, it still has value. We're at 80% here, which isn't bad. So the areas that I'm going to focus on are this last section, which is obviously wrong. It has go-tos and stuff in it, and maybe M2C has done something to reorganize this in a way. I'm pretty sure it's like that other function that we did sometime last week. Could probably just reference that, but even though the assembly is going to be in the order which matches the code, pretty much one-to-one, M2C will still reorder this, and this is how they're doing it. And so we can see where some of the duplication is, and so we have this go-to, and this go-to is actually simpler than I expected it to be. I don't know why I left it in there. But you can also see all of the cases where this global value, or this, the global field was not actually stuck into a variable. It was reused each time. Fortunately, the way this was compiled for the PSP makes that relatively easy to spot. So this can go away then. So this one does look like it was a variable. So here it was given the name temp S5, and it's being used in the same way. Unlikely to be greater than equals, and a greater than will do. Get rid of the extra parentheses here. That got us a little closer, so let's go look and see it at the bottom section. How are we doing? So here, this was probably calculated out here. Temp A2, this should have been scroll X. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this temp b0 underscore 21. I'm going to rename that to pos x, and we're also going to have a pos y that I'll have to create, and it's pretty often that these are calculated together regardless of whether both of them are used. Sometimes only one is used. But now we have a pos y that we can use down here. And M2C can't tell the difference between those two things. It all registers to M2C. But I think that's better. We have one extra variable. And that's going to affect stack pointer and other registers. Moves here. All right, let's go top to bottom and see what we can see. And I'm not too concerned with registers, the R in this gutter. If I can figure out what the extra variable is, that would be great to get rid of, but not overly concerned with it. The moves are the same. Those will go away after we fix more stuff. So mostly just extra code like this here. This has to do with how this entity ID is being done. I'm going to do this the correct way this time. I didn't do it the correct way last time, and I haven't fixed it yet. It's going to cause me some pain later on. We're in boss rboo.h. So we have the entity IDs that are defined in this enum. Oh, and I don't have any of them yet for Drat. I don't have any of the entity ID declarations for the PSP yet. So I'm going to go look at what was clock tower? Was STR NZO? Okay, so we're going to use the EID macro. And I might need that. No, I do have the correct one. Okay. So we're going to create EID 19. Along with that, we're going to define E19 as this guy. All right, and so this will be specifically for the PSP. I think I got it. So while we're looking at that, let's go back over. We made some changes, so let's see how that's doing on the PlayStation. Does that get us over 90%? Oh, just barely. It does. Still 11,000 differences. Yikes, that's a lot. That is a lot. So any of these create entities should just go quickly through those and see what other entity IDs I'm going to need. X28, 29, 20A, 28, 20B. Let me see. Okay, so we're 28 through 20C. And then what those will be, we don't know yet. So I'm going to leave them for now, but we have them in place, and then we know that we'll need those for the PlayStation as well. And so they're ready for us when we get to them. So jumps going to the wrong places, some symbols that are different. No concerns there. So 97 looks like my guess is that we're using pause Y here. And this was wrong on the PlayStation 2, if I remember. PlayStation also, if I remember correctly. My son was looking up math memes last week, and one of the jokes he found along the way was 15 plus 15 is 30, 16 plus 16 is 32. I thought that was funny. I laughed. Good dad joke. So not quite right. Let's look at M2C. It's going to be case hex 3. Ooh, I thought. So M2C may not have caught the entire switch. So what is this? It does not have this in a variable either. And it has it doing the same thing, so I guess I will keep it the same. A little surprised. That it's written like that, but not my choice. So taking out the parens around the 80, hex 80, the 128, and the G tile map is what set this straight. $153 is our next big one. Looks like ordering. So the result of get side to player and subsequent mask and XOR appear to be getting stuck into a variable. Not exactly sure if that's the case, but that's how it looks. We have other places where that's being done, and that's going into I thought we had a variable. Let's try reusing Tempest 0 and see. We might be able to call that facing left. Not completely certain this is what's wrong, but we'll try it. Okay, so we do have a bunch of additional masking. Tempest 0, we're just going to make a sine 32, and that should clear that up, and it looked like it cleared up a bunch of other stuff too. 149. This is the one I was trying to make. Fix -1 point. Oh, I did 1.25, but I think it's 1.75. Oh, and I'm wrong. It's just a 0? Just 0.75? Yeah, okay. And this is also fix 0, -0 point. There we go. 75. All right, 167. So ordering moves I'm not worried about. 178. Interesting. There's an absolute value call on velocity y. That's a built-in in GCC, so we don't see a function call there. And going back, how do I know it's a function call? It's the JAL instruction. And since we have a symbol for absolute value, we see it there. Whether or not the absolute value is actually being taken, we'll have to look. $189, we got a bunch of noise. Looks like the same thing, out of order. Set step looks like is happening. But this isn't getting aligned here. Let's go look at that. So this has no case 7, which may be true. At least not in order. So we have to think of a few things as we're going through. This may just exist in the PlayStation version. For now, I'm going to comment it out. It may not exist at all, and it's as I was untangling that switch statement, it was all conditional expressions, if statements. And so maybe I just did it wrong. That's completely a possibility. So for now, we'll just assume that that's what happened. Or it could be that it was added from the JP version to the US version, and then the PSP version is based on the JP version, and not all the fixes got backported. And so maybe it regressed. That could be. Or many other things. Or maybe it was a fix. Maybe it is in the original JP version and they removed it for reasons I don't know at the moment. $227. So this Tempest 0 looks like this is being done outside. 48. So here we have E, ID 28. Oh, and now we have to, now we do have to do the work. E28 is that. And I should do that everywhere. I'm too lazy. EID. So this is another case where GCC does something that it thinks is going to be a little faster. On MIPS, every instruction takes a clock cycle. So shifting versus doing a sign less than it's not going to make a difference. On other architectures, it might, and so the optimizer might just be reused from other architectures when it's doing that. So what's happening here, though, is a shift by 2. And basically that's putting, if this flag was set, it's putting it in the first bit position. If it's not set, it's going to be 0. I missed a bunch of these subtractions. Ordering. 324. It looks like this is not a fall through. We have our EID 2A here. EID 2A, and now we gotta go define 2A up here. And we're almost up to 90% over here. That's good. Another one where I missed the subtraction. I'm guessing this was a go-to and I missed it in the go-to. And then it got copied everywhere. Oh, am I going to get to 90% here first? I don't know. Getting close. 2B. We got a new 2B. Oh, background music is off again. And is my, oh, I've been going for quite a while. And my capture has been broken. Sorry about that. Happy talking about it. Let's recapture that. Recapture this. There we go. Sorry about that. Won't be a good VOD. That's okay. Same production quality as always. Looks like this rotation is happening later. Looks like maybe just there. Maybe as part of the else? Or not. So the rotation... So we're loading the rotation, and then we're doing a plus equals 1, or 800. So that's, again, a GCC optimization. Clever. All kinds of fun stuff. Missing the minus. Okay, again, this looks like something that doesn't exist, and it maybe doesn't exist just on the PSP, or maybe it doesn't exist at all. We will have to see. Case 1 here looks like it may be different. I'm going to leave it alone for now. 445, a couple more of these. I think 2C is new, if I remember correctly. Do we have a 2C yet? Do we? No, we don't. And we made it to 90%. 463. Not worried about the symbols. So we're reading a variable. Maybe it says plus equals. Is what's being incremented? That looks like it. So this is happening much earlier. Followed by epoch state. Followed by velocity x. And then velocity y. And then the entity extension. 495. Looks like this is a shift by 4, which I was going on and on about that earlier, how divide by 16 was being used instead of shift by 4, but for divide by 32 it was always a shift by 5. $521. We're missing a bunch. Hey Bear, good to have you. Thank you. Appreciate it. There are a lot of people other than me that are doing this as well, but I do appreciate the encouragement. It's not always easy. So we don't have a reference to this one yet. There's an animate entity call. So I commented out 2 areas. Let's go find both of those. What about that? So we have the animate entity and then set step 5. So it looks like this case 7 might actually be way down there towards the end. Is it actually out of order? Maybe. How can we tell? I guess we'll have to look and see what code gets generated. We're going to be looking for something that's jumping to 1808 or 17CO. We can go all the way back up to the top because that's what it's going to be. Not quite at the top, but somewhere there. And yep, when the value is 7, we're going to jump way to the bottom. So we got that. That looks good. Strange. GCC will take these and throw them all over the place, whereas MetroWorks will mostly get them in the same instructions in the same order as they appear in our code. Okay. Now we have this this strange contraption again. I'm going to go back to what we've already done, and there is a star plus plus down here. All right, so we set our pointer to some array, then we set it again to something completely different and unrelated. That looks about right. Strange. And even though the GCC knows that this first assignment is a dead store, oh no, it's not a dead store, it's a plus equals. Let's do it from this outer one. I'm not sure what the order is, and we won't know until later. And then we're going to do a plus equals on this remaining value. That should be approximately right. Here we're doing a load word versus a load byte unsigned. That's not what I expect. Oh, maybe because B115 is the wrong type of pointer. No, it's the right type of pointer. Should be unsigned though. So we're gonna have to go fix what? We're gonna have to fix these guys up here. No. One of them is unsigned and the other is signed. Oh, that's what it is. This one is unsigned 8. Redo that, and then this should be a signed 8 pointer. And that was it. And the rest of this looks good. So we're at 93%. I'm pretty sure... no, we don't have an additional variable anymore. We do have some registers that are broken. Where was this? I saw something in here that I didn't like. Here, oh no, that's just the move. Not worried about that. It's just moves, I'm not worried. Shouldn't say I'm not worried. I'm worried. It's keeping me up at night. No, it's just registers. 102. This is a bigger deal. We're doing some work with the tile map that's not showing up here. And so this could be a dead store. Kind of looks like it's going into the S2 variable, and S2 is never being used. Let's get a look-see. You don't see it getting generated here. So M2C just discarded this as well. It looks like we're getting something like this here. What did I do? Okay, so the self part of this is not being loaded, but the rest of it is. So that's a dead store, and GCC just doesn't generate the code for it. And is that it? That may be it. So what I'm expecting, except for that one section that I commented out, I'm expecting this to mostly work on PlayStation. Okay, 97%. Not perfect. 90, we have a NOP that's not getting generated. 110. Looks like the ordering here is broken. Let's pull this out again. Looks better. $184. So the load word here is also velocity X. Oh, this is a bug. Nope. Oh, this is velocity X. My bug. That's what that was. NOP. Missing NOP. Ordering maybe on 256. Yep. That should be down here. Where these are jumping to is incorrect. It's possible that this is a break, or this is an else. Like that? No. Going to the wrong place. Maybe. I don't think it's a return. It's too far down. So this is, yeah, this statement is not going to the correct place. So we'll have to figure out why and how far down is D and what is happening there. So that's not correct. We'll have to deal with that later. 289, this is an ordering issue. It looks like params is always, usually, sometimes last. Pause X and pause Y usually are together. It has to do with this animated entity, I see. So maybe this is an else. Same thing here, very similar. Something's going on there. Yeah, and so let's put case 3 back here. Case 3 definitely seems to exist. Or not, you know, whatever. Okay, maybe case 3 doesn't exist. What do I know? So somewhere along the way there is this load of 3 in into the V0 register. Where it's used is unclear. We'll go back to the PSP and try to get that straightened out. 401. Oh, maybe this is what's happening? This will fall through? Not quite. Yeah, so something else is happening here. We'll have to come back. A lot of this animate entity stuff looks like it's being reused in a way that I'm screwing up. And so when we figure out what exactly is going on, it should make it a little easier. But the things that I've changed here should be helpful. 482. Change this to fixed. Negative 2.5. And we're missing the FFFD. These are out of order. Strange, not sure why. Animate entity issue again. By 59. No, it's not. These may be wrong order. Wasn't sure which one was which. So let's fix the types up here. So it isn't quite right. Let's try putting the 4 in here. I had it originally. Still not quite right. All right, we'll come back and figure that out. But let's go over and see what damage we've done. Make sure that I save this. Getting closer, 97%, pretty good. Pretty good. Move the needle 0.05%. No, a little more than that, 0.2%. All right, time to sweat the details. This one does exist. That exists. I would think that this would be pause Y, and I'm going to try that. Slightly worse. No, slightly better. I can select things. Okay, we have a very minimal set of variables. Now I'm going to rename temp S0 facing left, or side to player. And we're almost there. So now we're actually missing a variable. Of course. Why wouldn't we be? Let's start variable auditing. A0, not worried about that. S0. So we want to see S0 being used the same way throughout. In the first place we see it being used different is here. $77. So S0 has moved into A0 for some reason here. I don't think that that's terribly important. Or at least won't help us right now. The ones I do want to check is the less than equals. Greater than equals. Those both seem reasonable. So these are still highlighted. Let's keep going. 107. So at this point, S0 is no longer bound to a variable. And so it doesn't help us because A0 is what is being used, so we're going to stop following it. S1 might be relevant, but it's being used, I think, for a switch. Yeah, we don't control that either. So go to places where we do control it. A big section up here, 351. Oh, this is part of the switch. We're missing case 3. Here's our case 3, which I had earlier, but it wasn't quite correct. Let's go to case 3. Yes, so case 3 should be here. That's what I was seeing on the other side too, but how do we assign the correct step? There's always step 7. I just screwed up earlier. That's probably what happened. Okay, that's better. I lost track of my S2 variable. S2, this is back at a switch. And then here we go on 269. Not important. 283. Not important. A lot of not importance. 380. Also not important. We have a check here on 408. We're missing a case again. We have 1, 2, and we're missing 3. 3 is going to take us here. And what do we do with case 3? Looks like the same. It's helping quite a bit. And that may be all that's necessary, is getting these cases fixed, because that seemed to help quite a bit. S2 and S6 look like they're the same. On 484, it's just self at this point, not super critical. S2 and S4 down here, 499. Also, just temporary ephemeral. All right, I'm going to save this again. Let's go over to the PlayStation. Much better on the PlayStation. Went to 97.5 to 98.9. I think this is where I'm going to leave it. We're at 97.5 on the PSP, 98.5 on the PlayStation. We're missing one variable. And when we put that variable in place, I think we'll have it. Where does that variable exist? What should we be looking at? Who knows? So here on line 100? Possibly. We'll find out. We'll be back tomorrow, decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I did want to mention again Metro Wrap, which is my take on a MetroWorks compiler wrapper for Linux. And I'll be working on it some more this week and seeing if I can get it more stable, more faster, and see if we can get builds going much faster. That's all I got for you, though. Thanks for joining. Appreciate everybody. Thanks for commenting. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies especially, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Adios.